Welcome to the Compliance Perspectives Podcast. I'm Adam Turtletop from the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics and Healthcare Compliance Association. Joining us today from Washington, D.C. is Jay Greenberg. Jay is joining the private sector and retired after 20 years at the FBI, including serving as the Bureau's Chief Compliance Officer. Today, Jay joins us to talk about executive presence. Jay, thanks for talking to us. People use the phrase executive presence a lot. What does it really mean, though?
Sure. And Adam, thank you so much for having me as well. In terms of my kind of working definition for executive presence or presence, it's being powered by your core values and then making a maximum positive contribution to any situation by fully investing yourself to achieving that assigned mission.
Thanks. It's a very good, concise definition. I'm wondering, though, is it something that's acquired or is it something innate to certain people?
Is absolutely acquired. That is the good news for everybody in the audience here. Regardless of the confidence you bring to any situation, you can acquire improved presence, better presence, more executive presence, simply through the application of experience, which you're going to achieve through your career. And for me, coupled with a lot of self-reflection, because it is a huge focus on core values and self-confidence that any of us brings to a situation, as well as with some mentoring, because that outside voice, that friend, that mentor, that person who's a step ahead of you in the career can sometimes help you get outside your own head and really help distill what they think happened in a situation so that you can then repeat, go back to your core values, figure out how your execution was positive, figure out where you have some additional changes you can make in your execution, and then bring your self-confidence and your best self fully invested in every situation for a positive, maximum positive outcome.
That's good to hear because I think most people have a tendency to think that some people have that presence, others don't, when in fact it can be developed. So what is the best way to go about developing it? You mentioned already finding a good mentor. Anything else?
Well, I think it's a real focus on self, not to an exhaustive perspective, but how we execute in any given situation is based more on our preparation and our confidence that is informed by our past experience than it is on simply rising to an occasion. We have to remember that when we see those really polished executives in any situation, they didn't just magically appear that way. And if we go back into the story of, sort of the hero origin story of any of those executives, when you go back, they will be happy to recount all of their failures and their missteps and their learning experiences that led them to the place where it seems like they step into a situation and they just have it, but they didn't always have it, right? They had to really focus on developing that through the experiences that they sought out in life and the mentoring and guidance which they were able to obtain along the way.
I think it's ironic that so much of the confidence that we see comes from humility and learning over the years from all the mistakes that they made. So let's talk about how it works in practice, and let's go through two hypothetical situations. First, let me ask about working with a CEO and the leadership team. What is executive presence in that situation?
Yes, executive presence, again, it's going to start with your core values. So this is all about knowing who you are in any given situation, looking for your positive character traits and really focusing on them ahead of time. That allows each one of us to be self-contained and also self-confident without being arrogant in any situation. Because if you think about your core values going into a situation, you're poised, you're grateful for opportunities, you're sincere, you're trustworthy, you have integrity, you're kind, but ultimately you're competent as well because you have prepared for this meeting. So in terms of thinking about executive presence in interacting with CEOs or chairs of boards or boards, it's really about focusing on the preparation for what is your purpose in that meeting? What expertise do you bring to that meeting? How are you going to prepare both the topical competence and your self-confidence for that discussion? And then there's a little, I think, other trick to this or other focus area, which is hypervigilance to the situation you're in. And that is something that is also developed. I think of that as the wrapper around your self-confidence, your context, and your purpose is really what is happening in the room around you. And the more we practice being in a situation and being an observer of a situation at the same time, the better we get at navigating some of those hidden messages that are being passed around the room, and the more you can tailor your approach to the outcome that you want to achieve.
That's a very strong argument for, at least in your own head, practicing for the meeting, what you want to achieve, what you want to say, and so forth.
Absolutely. And if you look at, there's a really easy analogy here, right? Everybody is familiar or has watched some of these shows on athletes and how do athletes prepare. They envision success. They envision themselves walking into that competitive arena or that competition area. What are they going to do? What skills and capabilities are they bringing? They didn't just get ready for this in the locker room on the way out to the arena, right? They've been training for this their whole lives. And so has everybody in this audience. We just need to take the time ahead of that next opportunity to present in going back over our own experiences and thinking through our core values and learning, what did those past experiences teach me? What are my positive character traits that I bring to something? And then how do I envision success, and what am I going to do to drive that success in this situation?
You made me think of a fun experience I had on a plane once. I sat down next to someone who turned out to own a baseball team, a full major league team. And I asked him, when he took over, what was the biggest surprise? And interestingly, he told me, never interfere with the players' pregame rituals. Even at that top level, they're doing that mental preparation. They're getting things together. And even the owner of the team doesn't interfere with that. So we've talked now about what to do when dealing with more senior executives. What does executive presence mean with the rank and file employee who comes to you, say, with a concern?
Absolutely. That's the beauty of a nice broad definition like this. Again, if you go back to the definition that we started with, being powered by your core values, making a maximum positive contribution to any situation by fully investing yourself to achieving a mission. So whether we are presenting to a CEO or whether we are interacting with a small or large group of our employees, there's sort of two perspectives I want to highlight here. The first is, for each one of us in that situation, interacting with that group of employees, you have to know your purpose that you want to achieve in that interaction. Are you building goodwill? Are you changing somebody's mindset? Are you trying to win a champion for compliance in that interaction? Are you trying to win hearts and minds? Are you simply investing so that people will develop trust in your reputation, and then they can carry that forward and you can have a much larger impact because you've successfully executed in this one place? Now, the second perspective I want to add to this is thinking through the perspective of your audience, right? So that rank and file employee, as you term them, or a standard employee, that person is also a leader, but right now their focus is on leading self. As an executive leader, your focus is on leading others, or leading through relationships, or leading through others. Covey talks about this extensively in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, just as applicable now as it always has been, where the first habits of success are about leading yourself or managing yourself. And the higher order traits that we're talking about are leading through others or leading through relationships. So that's how I would think about executive presence in a situation with, our standard employees from a compliance perspective.
Jay, thank you so much for suggesting this topic. We spent a lot of time talking about the elements of a compliance program and regulations. I think it's good that we stop now and then and talk about ourselves and how we have a strong impact on other people and what it takes to do that. So I want to thank you again for joining us today. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to listen. I'm Adam Turtletaub from SCCE and HCCA. I hope we're able to expand your compliance perspective.